All right, let's go to Wednesday night in college football. Jacksonville State, Florida International. We got Jacksonville State 8-point road favorites, 44 the total here in this game. What a wild one for FIU last week. And I had plus the points with FIU in that game against Sam Houston State last week. What a wild one that turned out to be. I thought for sure they were finished when we saw that fourth down. They had a hard time trying to punch that in overtime, but eventually they did to tie that game up. And then eventually they got the win in overtime, and they got the stop they needed and gets a huge 33-27 win against Sam Houston State, which stopped, I believe, a 7-game conference losing streak for Florida International. So big-time win for them on the road against Sam Houston State. Look, and I'm glad I came back to them. I almost didn't, because they let me down and they disappointed me so much against UTEP the week before that when they played so horrible in that game. But I said, you know what? I can't buy into Sam Houston and this offense laying that kind of points, even against FIU, and FIU ended up getting the job done. So thank you, FIU, for that. Do I come back to the well with them here? I'm not so sure. This Jacksonville State team's pretty good. They really are, but they are coming off huge game against Western Kentucky, 20-17. They win outright as 7.5-point dogs. They lose to Liberty the week before, 31-13. They basically played two of the better teams in the conference the last couple weeks. Is there a potential flat spot here for Jacksonville State? I think the biggest thing that would concern me, though, about looking to bet FIU again here, even getting +8 at home, the run defense is a sieve. It's really bad for Florida International. You can easily run on this team, 187 per game allowed on the ground, 4.9 yards per carry, and that's exactly what Jacksonville State wants to do, run the football. They are a run-first, up-tempo spread under Rich Rod. The quarterbacks, whoever it is, both we've seen Webb, we've seen Smothers. These are guys that are better runners than passers. So it's basically a team that is going to run the football 9 times out of 10, and you got to worry about that if you're Florida International, because the run defense just hasn't been very good entering this game. Now, this total to me is a little surprising here that it's this low, 43.5. I'm going to have to assume there might be some weather potentially for this game, but to me, the first thought is this looks low to me. This looks low to me, given you're going to see Jacksonville State play fast. FIU, not so much. They don't really play fast, but their run defense is bad, and that's what Jacksonville State's going to look to exploit, and Jacksonville State probably can exploit. It looks like, now that I see it on the weather forecast here, partly cloudy, 15 miles per hour wind. So there could be some gusts. But here's the funny thing. Jacksonville State runs the ball way more than they throw it. So the wind's not going to affect the ground game. The wind is going to affect the passing. And Jacksonville State just doesn't throw it anywhere close to the amount of times they run the ball. That is something worth pointing out. And if you actually look at the flip side of this matchup here, FIU is kind of a balanced run offense. They're really not spectacular throwing or running the ball.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're an air raid system, where if it's windy, it's really going to affect them, big time offensively. This is a team that is running the ball and throwing it. Balanced attack. They ran the ball 42 times against Sam Houston last week. They threw it 38 times. So very balanced. And Kewan Jenkins definitely has been a step up at quarterback from Grayson James. That's why he's taken over at QB for FIU. I know they're calling for some wind here, but I don't know. This total looks very low to me. Very cheap considering the matchup. It should be an advantage for JSU running the ball against a bad FIU run defense, which their strength offensively versus FIU's weakness defensively. I don't know. This total looks low to me. I could only look over 44.5, actually down to 44 now. What do you think here, C-Mac?
This game is tough for me. I thought Jenkins was all right last week. Like you mentioned, the numbers just aren't good on both sides of the ball for FIU. This was one that's showing here at 7.5, 8. I'm kind of there because I was really hoping when I had everything, this needed to be more like 10.5. I would really like FIU a little bit better, just over that number. But I think they could play well here at home. I just don't have a ton of confidence. And one thing that was good, they didn't turn the ball over much. I think they did lose a fumble, but they have to not turn it over here, FIU, if they want to have a chance here at home. And you're right, Jacksonville State's just going to run it. And they haven't been the same team. I think they're a lot better at home. That's where I've wanted them all year long. So yeah, I kind of lean the dog here. It's just tough for me to take FIU. I don't know if I want my money on them, and I'm off the total. It's pretty low. I got to dig in that a little bit more. Like you mentioned, there's some wind. Slow team in FIU. You mentioned a little faster with Jacksonville State, but they just run it.
Exactly, and that's why the total is. But Jacksonville State is fast, and they're fast running the ball, and that FIU is not good stopping it. So I think this is one of those games where it could be something like, I don't know, 30-14, 30, something like 30-16, something like that, where you get 30 out of Jacksonville State at the very least, which they should be able to achieve, and you get enough from FIU here to get up and over the total in this one.